What's going on, exiles and people on YouTube? Today, I'm going to show with you guys what I think is probably the strongest item in the game. One of the strongest things I've seen in an incredibly long time. And if it's possible, the way it presents itself, if it's not possible, it's GGG's fault because every indicator is that it is. This is probably one of the strongest items in the game. And what's cool, nobody knows about it. Now, you might be a little skeptical of such a claim, so I made a list for the reasons. But first off, let me show you what the item is. And ta-da! Look at this. 25% increased effect of notable passives, upgrades the radius to large. Notable passive skills get 10% increased crit bonus for attack damage. Notable passive skills and radius also get 10% increased damage bonus for spears. Now, there's a couple of things that you need to test here to indicate to this. So here's one of them, all right? We can see on this jewel here that I've got the 25% notable fracture and that it's got 6% crit damage bonus. And we're going to put it in the wheel right here, all right? So obviously, this one right here, it's going to get the 25% would mean it would get plus 8, so that should go to 43, and then we're going to look at the rest of it. So, and then we're adding 6 bonus on top. So you can see that we get the 43 crit bonus as expected, but if you notice, we have 7 crit bonus for the attack damage. And this is 6, which means that the bonuses from within the notable passive bonus is also scaled up by the percentage increase bonus. Now, that is obviously in of itself insane because you can also get increases passive radius to large. Now, there's places like right here, for example, where you have, if you take a look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 notables. So that would be 9 notables, and each time you got the 12 or the 10% would actually go to 12%, right? So 24% per notable. And then in that situation right there, you would get 9 of them. So 9 times 24, that's 216 crit bonus. Not to mention 25% increased effect on every one of these notables. Or if you really want to go crazy with it, you could also put it right here. And if you do that on this character, I don't have it assigned, but there are 13 notables that are within range there. Possible notables. Now, getting 24 crit bonus is a notable in of itself. So traveling to those points just to get those notables would be fine. But 13 times 24 is 312. So that jewel at a bare minimum could give you 312 crit bonus. Not to mention, you also still have an open modifier, which if you have it on this one, we have large, right? But if you were to look at this one right here, you can actually get access to 8 of them without even having an increase to the size. There we go, 25%. So like right here, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you could put something like, you see right here, I've got small passives gain 2% penetration, or you have other ones like small passives in rage get 25% increased effect. There's a ton of different things. And so when I say that this is the best item in the game that nobody knows about, best item is obviously kind of a loose qualitative term and not so much quantitative. But best is usually defined by more or less the efficiency of that item's use, right? You know, when you compare something like Mage Blood or Headhunter or, mirror items or whatever, they're just more effective at what they do. Now, in terms of jewel usage, jewels tend to be a little bit more innocuous. However, that level of crit bonus is so obscene because even if you just have the base crit, right, that would be a 300% increase. That would be, 400%. You'd be doing 5x on every time you hit a critical strike. Right, and because crit strikes are capped at 100%, and because like half of the player base is playing Amazons right now, this should be of general interest to a lot of people. As an FYI, by the way, I actually haven't even done this craft yet. I got so excited when I saw this that I wanted to share ahead of time, and so challenge on, I guess. It's been a while since there's been like a competitive craft. I was just fiddling around with things on a new character I was making because I've got this triple tier 1 spear. I started leveling a new character, was just trying to get a leg up so I could try and make something cool and meaningful. But yeah, here, I just want to justify my excitement for this because let's take a look here. And actually, I'll give you my 10 reasons now why people I think have overlooked on this. So the first one is that time lost jewel mods are not on Craft of Exile. as evidenced here. If you open it up, you don't see time lost jewels on the top. And if you open the jewel category, it just has Emerald, Ruby, and Sapphire. Number 2, time lost jewels mods are not on PoEDB. Now, they actually are on PoEDB, but they're not all on PoEDB because PoEDB is like an API thing, so it data mines, right? Whereas Craft of Exile is entered manually. However, this has not been updated for this patch because, or it hasn't fully been updated because if you look, it doesn't have any spear mods, right? And obviously, spear mods exist because, you know, we've got them. It also doesn't have the notable 25% on here, right? Now, if you take a look on the trade site, you'll notice that there's the 25% increased effect is always a suffix, right? And if you look up, I'm sorry, jewels, in case you're unaware, have 2 prefixes and 2 suffixes if you're new to the game. And I'm getting a little ahead of myself. But what seems to be interesting with these jewels is that seemingly, and in contradiction to pretty much anything else in the game, they seem to be able to roll either as prefixes or suffixes in some scenarios, and I took some evidence of that here, right? So if you take a look here, this one, and this is off just of the trade website, notable passive skills have 9% crit damage bonus for attack damage, and that's a prefix, right? And then you see here, notable passive skills have 6% crit bonus with spears, and that's a suffix. The range is 5 to 10, by the way, for both of those. And then we go down here, just to show it's not a one-off. We can see that you've got prefix for crit bonus for attack damage, right? Whereas here it was prefix, that was also, sorry, for attack damage. And then this one's got, where else we have here? Oh, here, yeah, prefix, the notable are for crit bonus with spears, right? So that's both the crit bonus for spears and the crit bonus for attack damage, which can be prefixes. And so in the case of the notables, because the ones I have here, right, this one, like crit bonus with attack damage, that's a suffix. And then the ones where I have both of them, the crit damage for bonus or for attack damage and spears are both suffixes, but there are multiple ones listed on the trade site that have them as prefixes. And so the image I made up here I just did it on MS Paint because as I said, I haven't done the craft yet. And you could probably tell from my voice, I'm so excited about this because it's so insane. And so, yeah, the upgrades to large, that one, again, you don't necessarily have to take that, but that's also always a prefix. And there's another one too, which is upgrade to medium. That increases the range or the radius of it, right? So if you take a look at a large radius here, that extends up to resonance. The medium radius just goes below resonance. And then where's one without one? Here we go. And then this one is a little bit smaller still. Some cool things too, and just some interesting places you could put it. Right here, for example, like you can, this one just has double bonus and large radius. But look at that. You could take this entire crit tree, right? And you can get, like this one here now has, with a max roll, this would have 55% crit bonus. And all of these, and there's 3 notables there. The Frenzy notable, you got that notable, the Spear notables. And again, down here, this one's insane. There's literally 13 in range. The internal ones tend to be a little bit better because the ones on the outside of the wheel, they tend to not have as many notables in the range, with some exceptions, this being the one that sticks out the most. But yeah, so another one here too. Some other reasons why I think people may, have not looked into this. Number 3, time lost jewels were recently nerfed because as far as I know, they don't work with the adorned anymore as magic ones. And also they removed a bunch of jewel slots on the tree, right? And so there's just less of them, meaning, you're less likely to find ones that are in very, very OP scenarios or ranges. And then the number 4 is that all 3 mods on face value are suffixes. When I say the 3 mods, as I know there's 4 on the list, I mean the notable 25%, the crit bonus with spears, the crit bonus with attacks. I just went over that with you, but apparently sometimes they're prefixes. Also, another thing too, and just to show you the like GG, I actually became a meta cuck and started playing Amazon this league. Well, I made it yesterday rather, because it just seems so much stronger than anything else. But for some indication about the preference given to new things, notable bonus. All right, so here are the different things that can roll crit bonus. Spell crit bonus, increased critical damage bonus, critical damage bonus for attacks, and then critical damage bonus for spears. Why are spears the only ones that can get Why are spears the only weapon type that can get crit bonus? Because that means that you can now double it up with the attack damage one, right? Which is, it seems so silly almost. But in any case, obviously, with so many different people playing the at the same class this league, fantastic for you guys. And they're not mutually exclusive either, as evidenced by the fact, well, I have one I can just show you here. So you can see crit damage bonus for attack damage and also for spears. So both of those are obtainable, but again, it is also just locked to one weapon type. Although you should probably be able to get, on other bases, you might be able to combine like spell damage and attack. Well, actually, let's take a look here. Notable, tilde, note, bonus. Okay. Let's see. Crit bonus, crit spell bonus. And then what were the other ones here? Alright, let's see if we can have two of those. Yeah, so critical bonus and critical spell bonus can roll together on time lost jewels. So this should work for them as well. And also with Crown of Eyes in the game, this might actually... Oh, actually, no, crit spell bonus. Never mind, that wouldn't work. Not with Crown of Eyes, at least. It would work for spellcasters and for spells still. But Crown of Eyes converts spell damage into attack damage. It wouldn't do anything with spell crit bonus. But yeah, either way, that's also an option there. I suppose that's even more broad sweeping. But still, for the attack-based ones, though, the only combination you can get the double there would be attack and spear. There's no like attack mace or attack sword or attack bow. Although bow does have quiver effect. But yeah, that's another reason why people maybe might have overlooked it, because it wasn't possible and spears were just added. You know, the fact that they don't show up on any of the access websites, nor on the wiki. Yes, another thing too about why these might be difficult, unlike other places in the game, they're not mutually exclusive. Just went over that. Jewel mods are also always item level 1, so they can't be easily omen crafted with witlings and stuff, even though you can fracture them. And you can actually still use like sinestrals and dextrals. For example, on this one right here, I have the double tier 1, or well, there's only one tier of jewels. There's only, one tier of every mod on jewels, so tier 1 is, I mean, it is technically tier 1, I guess, even in the nomenclature of PoE 2, win-win. But yes, you can see we've got the double suffix crit bonus there, and then we fractured the large, which means if I use a sinestral erasure, it'll always remove the lightning pen there. However, I do know that the notable, 25% increased effect notable is always a suffix, and so I think what you'd have to do would be, this one you hear, oh no, that's crit chance. Where is it? I think I've got one of them where it is, okay. Yeah, okay, so this one here. On this one, I've got the 25% notable, fractured, and then I've got the crit bonus. Now, I think the best thing that you could do would be to get the 25% crit or notable, and then the 10% crit bonus as your suffix, and then fracture the large, because then you could just re-roll with a sinestral to get the second crit bonus prefix. I don't know. There's a few ways to go about this, but there's still some clever ways. Either way, though, witlings are not a vector. That's a part of that, so you won't have to combine witlings at any point. You'll either just have to use sinestral annuls, or you can do greater sinestral annul with a sinestral annul or dextral annul. That'll allow you to remove both. Two suffixes or two prefixes. And then you can also use the sinestral or dextral erasures, but those are the same price as the annuls, and so it doesn't. There's no, they're a bit more expensive than the annuls, and they're the same price of witlings. But either way, they don't have the item level thing, so you can't you can't do it as like a lot of mirror crafting in PoE 2 is almost entirely deterministic if you have enough currency for the omens. And so omens it's really just gate caps behind currency. However, within this situation here, it's going to take effort, right? You're going to have to put in time. You're going to have to get the fractures. There's going to be some luck involved. As I said, I got so excited I wanted to share this idea before I even did it myself. So fingers crossed I can get it done. But either way, it's cool to just find something new. Fractures also cannot, another reason why maybe people haven't done this, fractures cannot be explicitly searched on the trade site. There's not even like a fracture area here compared to PoE 1, right? If you go to the PoE 1 trade site, verifying that I'm human. I wish they would do that in PoE too. Okay, here you can see how it has fractured items, right? That's not a category in PoE 2 though. They don't have that on the trade site. What you can do though is if you do tilde and then just type fracture, you'll see a pseudo mod for fractured modifiers. So if you put that, right, it'll show, that'll make sure, and then you put minimum 1, it'll make sure one of the mods on the jewel is guaranteed fractured. Or if you want to find one that doesn't have fractured mods, you can do not and then fractured modifier, and then it'll do the same thing, but it'll make sure none of them are fractured. However, even if you do this, and I'll show you this here, so I can show you a way to navigate it. So this is, we're searching crit bonus, critical damage bonus. This is on a Sapphire, time loss Sapphire rather, with 1 fractured mod. Now you'll notice that it gave us 22 results, but if you scroll down, you don't actually see any fractures here. Now, how you can tell which one is fractured on the trade site is that it doesn't, it's blank. So you see here how it says P0 and then cold damage and then S0, S0, but the second one has nothing beside it. That means that is the fractured mod. Also, similarly in game, there is a bug where if for some reason, I don't know what GGG is doing, I think they kind of dropped the ball with this patch, but when you look visually, you can see 25% increased effective notable skills is fractured, right? However, if you fracture any other modifier on a jewel, like this one for example, right? I just look at it, looks normal, and then I hold Alt, and it turns out poison duration is actually fractured. However, on these ones, visually, you don't need to hold Alt, and you'll still know it's fractured. On the website, same thing. The fractures don't show up unless it's the 25% notable one. But the way that you can determine that is, again, it'll have like the empty space there. Again, I know some of you are probably going to complain in the comments about this. I'm just trying to share it to you guys so you can have the same level. Like, there's obviously a pretty big knowledge asymmetry with like veterans like myself and people who trade a lot to know how to kind of navigate these nuances, and that's really like what gives the leg up. But it's not super fun playing against yourself. So hopefully this can help some of you guys. And at the same time too, I don't design the game, I just play it, right? So we do what we can with what we've got. But that's how you can navigate that. All right. So yeah, number 9 is fractured mods don't show up on the jewel on the trade site or in game without holding Alt or looking at them. Just went over that. Number 10 reason why this maybe has been overlooked. Jewels tend to be one of the last items that people look to min-max or optimize because they're not super flashy like armors or weapons, because, you know, you're always looking at those. People link them all the time, right? They're like the first thought, you know, most of the time a weapon's going to be the most impactful thing for a build. Jewels get buried into your passive tree, so it's like when you're playing around, you don't see them all the time. If you're like streaming or taking video of what you're doing, it's like they're not going to show up. You know, people don't tend to link them as often. There's kind of like a second thought thing often. You know, even when people like link their path of buildings and stuff like that, and you look at like the PoE or whatever the page there, you know, they're right down at the bottom, and sometimes it doesn't even show the mods on them properly. Also, like path of building doesn't it doesn't know the mods for like path of building. I'm sure will be updated eventually, but it doesn't know how to read time loss jewels properly. So like the 25% increased notable mod doesn't work on path of building, for example. It will not, like I showed it to you how it actually does work in the game, but that won't work on path of building. So that's another reason as well. People, if they're using like the sum search, you know, find my upgrades, or if they're trying to like craft it for themselves, it wouldn't actually correctly give them the information. This is one of the reasons why I don't like using path of building, except to like verify things for myself that I already know how they work, because then I know if it's not right or wrong, right? Because it's not an infallible system. It's an incredibly good system, but especially in early access in a new game, there are definitely going to be oversights like that, you know, if you can spot them out, obviously it gives you a competitive advantage over the market. Yeah, number 11 reason, spear mods were just added this patch, so it's not been possible previously, and it does not exist on standard for PoE 2. And number 12, there are far fewer mirrors on the open market this league than previously, and since there's a smaller potential market for mirror items, mirror crafters would be focused on bigger ticket items versus dumping currency into something that, if it ever gets mirrored, would typically fall last on the list of priorities in terms of items that you would want to mirror from like a market standpoint, right? Like if I were, well, I'm not, this is not hypothetical, I am a mirror crafter, pretty prolific one actually, and if I were trying to mirror craft for profit, which is not really a prerogative for me this league, if I do mirror craft, it'll probably be for what I'm using for myself. Obviously, I'll let other people mirror it, but I'm not looking to do like last in the early access first league. I made 11 mirror items, did several hundred mirror services. You know, I made couple hundred mirrors last league. Not the same focus this league. I did start right here. You can see I've got a triple tier 1 spike spear. Spike spears are the better base, by the way, to sea glass spears. I can make a separate video on that. But like with zero, like in terms of a min-max to optimize one, you should never ever use a sea glass. If you guys want me to follow up on that, I can. But spike spear is the tier 1 base. And you can see I've got the another flaring fracture, 2 merciless fractures. We got a merciless fracture with +2 arrow, a bunch of other things going on there. But again, this was the impetus for looking into spear stuff. But also, if I were to try and like get a mirror item that I wanted to make profit off of, I would 100% go for a spear. Last time I checked, 48% of the player base was on Amazon, and then like another like 20% I think were playing like Huntress or Ranger using spears as well. And so like so disproportionately large is the market on this that even though it's probably going to be far more competitive and it might get saturated, it's still, I mean, is probably the most sensible thing to do. Now the jewel, you do have sort of a downstream consequence of that making a jewel like this might actually not be a terrible idea as a mirror item, because this is, as I pointed out, like you can get over 300% multi from this jewel. And that's assuming that's like 300% increased multi, right? Your base crit bonus could be, sorry, when I say crit multi, that's just PoE 1 nomenclature. I mean crit bonus, increased crit bonus. If you've got Sniper's Mark gives your base crit bonus like a +100 or something, and you can get 39 increased base crit bonus on the weapon suffix plus the crit bonus rune. Which gives 12, so 300% increased with 39 plus 12, that's 51. So 151, you're looking at like times 7, right? Because that would be 300% increase would be times 4 on 1.51, which would be 6. So you'd have 6.04, which would be times 7. Every time you hit a crit, you get 7 times your damage, right? And that's from 1 jewel, which is just so insane. And that's not even counting like if you were playing with that Tangle Tongue or whatever, which does all that crazy stuff with Critical's Fork and whatever. Like the potential for this jewel is just insane. However, again, one of the reasons why people maybe haven't looked into this so much is just because if you look on the trade site, there's very few of them, and if you go on Alva, there's only, last time I looked, there were only a couple of them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 mirrors on the entire currency exchange, and probably only a handful of them on the trade side as well. And the currency exchange obviously has no consideration for online or offline either. Now, obviously, there's probably a bunch of people that have them just, they're not listed in their stashes and stuff, but that means they're not on the market, right? Now, obviously, some people, especially the websites that R&T and things, they obviously do some fuckery there, but you act with what information you can, right? In any case, though, guys, that's what I wanted to share with you. Again, as it says in the thumbnail there, this is not clickbait. I do really think that this is potentially the strongest item in the game. And there are some caveats to it. Again, as we went over with the on the imager here, right? You can see that this has got a prefix for the crit bonus with the attack damage, prefix for the crit bonus with the spears, and so by every indication it should be possible. For all the ones I have right here, the crit bonuses I have are suffixes. I only have that on like 2 or 3 of the jewels because I was going for the 25% notable one. But even still, like this one I have right here, I have to divine this, but look at that. We got small passive skills have 2% penetration and then 20% crit bonus per notable with a large range, right? I put that right here, for example, right? You've got access to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It doesn't count for the what do you call them ones? Attribute ones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. There's like 45, approximately, if I had to estimate, 45 small passives there, and there's 13 notables. So even just with this jewel as it is, without the 25% notable buff, that's 20% crit bonus times 13, that's 260 crit bonus. If you win to get all those, plus the penetration would be like 100% pen, which is the highest resistance mob in the game is 75. So, you could get that one jewel could give you 260 crit bonus and penetrate like 100 per maximum penetration on any mob in the game. It's just so crazy, man. What these can do, and what's really cool too, if you guys, as a final thing here, if you're unaware of it, Vaal Orbs, when they're used on a jewel, even if for some reason, let's say, because, I mean, if we're being fair about this, the website does have, you know, they've got the stupidity with it shows the notable fracture, but it doesn't show the fracture on other modifiers. On the website, it's all fucked up with indicating, you know, the fracture mods can't show up, you can't search it. I think GGG kind of phoned this one in insofar as crafting and itemization is concerned, my personal opinion. I think they're going to be rushing themselves, but, you know, hopefully they fix this stuff. If for some reason it is technically impossible to make the jewel I'm talking about, like let's say, for example, the notable 25% and both the crit bonuses are still, they all have to be suffixes, right? And so it's not possible to get the prefix one. I mean, again, the trade site indicates that dozens of times over that it is possible. So on face value, it should be. But if, let's say, even if it wasn't, this is the coolest part. A Vaal Orb used on a jewel can add an additional line of text. It is unique to jewels, right? So a jewel can add an enchant like all other Vaal Orbs can. It can do nothing, or if you use an omen, that removes that option. It can, or it can re-roll it entirely, right, like a normal rare. And the fourth thing that it can do is it can add or remove a modifier, like a total affix, but it allows you to go above the maximum affixes. So you can actually get 5 total affixes, which means it's still possible to get that jewel with an additional mod. So you could, for example, on this one right here, after I were to divine it, so if I did, it would be upgrade to large, 2% lightning res, 10% crit bonus, 10% crit bonus. You could use a Vaal Orb, and you could Vaal Orb into 25% notable, right? I think it would probably be better to get the 25% notables, 1 crit bonus, large, 1 prefix, and then try to Vaal into the other crit bonus, because I imagine the weights on these aren't available. They're not even listed. The modifiers aren't even listed correctly or at all on any of the websites that do that. So it's kind of a shot in the dark. But if I were to guess, just based on how many are listed, I think that the notable 25% is a rarer modifier than either of the crit bonus ones. But you'd also have the option of hitting other really cool mods too, like, you know, notable crit chance, which goes up to 7%. Penetration on small passive is really good. There's accuracy one, some other stuff too. So a lot of options here. Again, you could probably here's an example, by the way. So you see how this has 5 mods, 3 suffixes and 2 prefixes. That's an example of what you can get with. That's not a very good one, but just an indication that you can get 5 mods there. So even in the worst case scenario, it is possible, and it can be done. If it were done with a Vaal Orb, it'd almost be cooler because it couldn't be mirrored, so it'd be really, truly a one-of-a-kind item. But if not, guys, just to bring it back to the original point here of the thing, here is the jewel that I'm proposing. I haven't done it yet. Fucking throw down the gauntlet. Anybody who's a crafter, let's try and get this done, boys, because I think it'd be so sick. So many people are playing it. I think a ton of people will be hyped about it. And if you're unaware of these existing, now you are. You can get hyped too. I bought enough of them for me to be able to roll my own bases. There's a bunch of these still left on the trade site. Good luck if anyone's seeing this for the first few people who go to get them. But for other people, don't forget, fractures exist. You can use Chaos Orbs and Annuls to remove and add mods. Right, so it's not going to take you too long to get it yourself. Don't be too discouraged if there's none of these available on the trade site as a starting point. You're barely behind. There's only 4 mods on jewels. It's not that hard to get there, but I think getting this one together will be a unique challenge, and one that I'm looking forward to undertaking myself. I actually am recording this prior to starting stream, so that's what I'm going to be doing today. Thanks for watching, guys. If you're new to the channel, if you enjoyed this, leaving a like, leaving a comment, and if you're new to the channel, dropping a sub helps out. Recently hit 40,000 subs. Appreciate that. Still having fun with the game. I know many other people aren't, but I am, and I'll keep trying to share that and some cool things I find in my journey with crafting and making currency, and hopefully you guys enjoy. God bless, fellas. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you in Exile, or in Rayclast. Fuck me, I can't even nerd properly. All right, kudos, lads. Shia. Kudos means congratulations. Holy shit. Goodbye, gentlemen. I'll see you next time. That's what I get for trying to be fancy. Peace.